Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Epi Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Asif Ghafoor, CEO of Be.EV, leading one of the UK's fastest growing EV charging networks and helping make electric mobility simple, reliable, and accessible for millions of drivers. Asif, great seeing you. Welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to share the story.
Yeah, Asif, thanks for joining me. This is a great conversation. Obviously, the mobility, it's a part of our life and experience that we have as a residents of the city, as the citizens in the cities that we live, in the place that we live. Take us first, like before BEV existed. What was the moment that convinced you electric mobility was not just a trend, but a once in a generation opportunity worth dedicating your career to?
Well, probably got excited by the wrong thing first and then got excited by the right thing later. So it was actually started looking at driverless vehicles and all the infrastructure technology needed to get that going. And from there, realized that was like 2015. I just thought it was too early. So then worked backwards and ended up thinking actually electric mobility is really where we should be starting this exercise. And that's kind of how the business idea came up.
Fantastic. Now, building charging infrastructure is a very different challenge from building a software company. Tell me, what did you underestimate most when you first started BEV?
I have to be very honest. I think we've probably underestimated everything. So I kind of thought, oh, this would be a great idea to go on your own, set up a business. Got my co-founder, persuaded him to leave his job, and persuaded some friends to leave theirs, and kind of set this whole enterprise up. Only to realize, actually, I've never worked as hard. Every day is a new challenge, and at times you forget you've climbed a massive mountain and then you suddenly realize there's actually another two humps ahead of you, which you hadn't anticipated. And there's been so much which we've raised capital, we've got infrastructure in the ground, but just thinking about I probably didn't think rightly at the start about this is actually a consumer facing business and infrastructure is a means to an end. And that's kind of what's really been the dawn of reality since we got going.
Yeah. Now, was there any like thinking about what frustrated you enough to say this is broken, we can build something dramatically better? Or
No, no, actually, that's the stage when we started back in the tennies into the early 2020s, was really there was no infrastructure. There's limits on infrastructure. It was exciting. It was new. It hadn't really been done before. There wasn't a huge amount of copycatting you could do from around the world as well. So yeah, we weren't trying to fix something which was broken. We were trying to solve a problem for the future.
yeah. Now, with BEV has become one of the UK's highest rated charging networks because of its focus on the customer experience. Can you share a specific piece of customer feedback that completely changed the way you approach the business?
I always like to refer to my mom in this because she drives an electric vehicle. For us, customer experience isn't just a phrase, it's about being forensic. It's about watching every single step a customer takes and how ultimately you want charging to be pretty unforgettable. It's not something you look forward to and you fall out of bed in the morning. And actually with my mom, we watched her charge and she couldn't read the instructions on the panel because the glasses were in the car. And so we were like, okay, you got to think this through. Yeah, there's instructions there. How do you make it accessible for everybody? And how do you make this work for everybody? And that's the kind of a forensic exercise we do. You'll see me lurking around in car parks all the time, just wanting to nab a customer and see what they're up to as well.
Yeah. And walk us through a little bit in terms of reliability, knowing that, you have these footprints. I remember when a friend of mine was his first vehicle, and this was actually in a very interesting country. We were on the road in the country of Albania and didn't really have many EVs. So he was really mapping, spending like hours to just map out. Tell us about like that journey about the customers, like, in terms of the footprint.
Well, the early days, our customers have been far too forgiving than they really should be. but they were kind of early adopters. They also felt a moral pioneer role here of moving to electric out of combustion engine vehicles. And in the UK, you used to sit there for hours plotting A to B distances and how can you actually go and charge as well. But for us now, as mass market adoption has now started, we're seeing a huge amount of EV uptake. You're really in a world now where we can't have mistakes. We can't have things not working and not working first time. Can you imagine going to the supermarket and trying to pay for your groceries and the till doesn't work? You'd be like, you'd leave them and go. You wouldn't kind of put up with that kind of, so why should consumers put up with that in our space? And that's where, we've been focusing on now. The next wave is getting everything working first time and getting that high level of reliability.
Yeah. Now, when you look at the industry itself, what do you believe, or what do you see the industry continues to misunderstand about the consumer behavior, and how should the sector address it?
Well, the challenge really is a lot of people still think this is putting charges in the ground. I just put some charges in. It doesn't really, at times, we're seeing people putting charges in, not really caring about the speeds. And our customers, we know our customers are going to be demanding we focus on the ultra rapid space. Our customers want to charge as quickly as possible and just carry on with their lives or fit this in to something they're doing. And they do not wish, and we see a lot of people just focused on infrastructure, not thinking about the design, the layout, our customer experience, every step of the journey, the app, finding the charger. Can you get it on Google? Can you find it on Google Maps? The pins get moved around for some reason. Some machines moving them. All of that forensic step by step. We focus on it. A few other charge point operators in the UK do, but a lot don't. They're just putting chargers in the ground. Then they wonder why no one's coming to use them.
Yeah. Now, looking to ahead of 10 years when EV adoption becomes the norm and not the exception across the continents, I would say, what do you hope people will first say about for your UK market and BEV, and in terms of the contribution towards the having make this EV experience amazing, but also to the what the future mobility excites you most personally?
So I think from our legacy in terms of what we would like to be remembered for, I'd like to be remembered like you talk about the greats. When I was at business school, they talk about the greats out there, and I'd like BEV to be remembered as a company who actually thought about being great, and therefore it deserves the honor once it's actually put the hard work in. What that is defined like, even I don't know today. I don't know what great looks like yet. I'm making tiny steps towards it, hopefully. But ultimately, in 10 years' time, yeah, I'd hope people look back and say, actually, that model those guys got right is how you now replicate this around the world and ultimately, into places which are harder to reach as well. Albania, Africa, where power is not as easily found, but actually be able to solve that. That's what I'm really looking for. In terms of what I see happening next is really autonomous vehicles are now going to be here. I talked about it in 2015. In 10 years' time, um, why would we be driving cars? We're going to find actually a lot more, parking, driving on main trunk routes. Maybe not so much in cities in 10 years' time, but at least getting from A to B, you can switch it on to auto mode and off you go to Scotland and you can read a book. There's no reason why that can't happen.
Yeah. Do you see more cars or less cars in the future?
It's interesting because city planners are like, oh my God, I hate the car. We can't have any more cars. We've got to look at the alternative options out there. If the vehicle is clean and in a world of autonomy, you actually get more cars on the road because it's actually managed through the cars themselves and the distance they keep. I actually think that we're not going to see a huge difference in the number of cars. City dwellers, less and less. But we also haven't seen a huge rise in car sharing clubs. Actually, the opposite in London, for example, which I saw a major one pull out recently. And in that case, you end up with the only alternative is owning a car, but it's pretty inefficient owning a car. It's parked more than it's ever driven for most people.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Asif, I always love to ask this question to my guest, and that is about the word bold. Bold Awards has been in existence for 8 years. We do this a great celebration innovation. You're part of that innovation you're doing in the EV space. What does the word bold mean to you personally?
Well, our company values are actually caring, sharing, and daring. And I do think daring is a sister of bold. And I say to my team, we trial so many things, and we trial things. Some of them are really bad ideas, but we trial it to see if it's actually going to hold with the customer and it's going to actually win over customers. We trial things like we launched a new site and we charged P for a day. People drove from like 40, 45 miles to come and charge on this site, and then we never saw them again. It wasn't a great idea. I want my business, my teams, my partners who work with me to be bold, to take those chances, to trial, to fail, to learn, and to retry again and again. That's for me is what bold is. And being bold in this new market is the only way we can actually grow, and it's the only way we can actually become the better of what we're trying to become here as well.
Amazing. That is about setting the expectation, being bold. Always be bold, Asif. Keep up with great work. Thank you for joining me this short format conversation, Bold Talk series, and look forward to reconnect again. Until that time, take care, be great, and be bold. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.